Welcome back, everybody, to the Twin Chickens podcast. It is me, Arty, man, 5,000,000, back in it again, in the grind. And we're joined here today with Ibino. What's going on?
Not terribly much. I guess there's been a lot this week.
There's been quite a bit. We're going to do something different. Obviously, you guys, since we haven't been up and running for a while, the last one we did was with Melina, and Melina was just awesome, just having her here. And her talks about like how basically the civil unrest in Mexico was just insane. It's just nuts. And I didn't think that I've never met her before, but I think that podcast went pretty well. You know, we got things figured out and all whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of good variety conversation, I guess.
Yes, lots of good stuff. You've never met Melina before?
No, that was pretty much like the second day.
Yeah,
I hadn't really had a conversation with her. That was like a really good interaction for the first time.
Dude,
to talk with her.
She's a freaking Latin pop star. Like, what?
Yeah.
I told you when I discovered that. I'm like just scrolling on Instagram, finding her stuff, and there she is. Adubabe Dudar. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name. Freaking amazing. She's what's it called? She's an actress. She's a dancer. She has her own management company. And yet when she was here, we just talked about, what was going on in Mexico. But had I known who she was, that's what we should have talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think that it was pretty crazy that we figured out the next day, oh, she's actually a Latin pop star. Like, what? So if you guys don't know, obviously, Melina, go check out the last episode and follow her on her Instagram. Links will be down below. Also, guys, we do have the tip link still available. So if you guys want to send us anything, as in comments, feedback, whatever have you, the tip link is down there to support the show. And it also just helps us, get better at doing all this stuff, getting better equipment, everything. So anything helps, really, would be good. Let's start off with your weekend, my guy. What do you got?
My weekend. I might have to back it up.
Back it up.
There's a lot to the weekend.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this lighthearted story.
Yes.
Before I get heavy into the weekend.
Yes.
Monday.
Actually, this Monday or last week Monday?
I think this Monday, but I just need to tell you it because it's nice. I go to this undisclosed location department store, you know, and I'm going to shop for weights and a sweatshirt. And so I wanted an extra heavier set. So I'm looking under the side shelf of where they keep them, and I find some 30-pounders. They weren't like the right ones. Okay. So I'm looking around like trying to get the ones that match and shit. And I'm not seeing any price tags on it. So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. There's the scan bar.
Usually when they don't have any tags, it means they're free.
It was concerning. And so I grabbed them. I'm like, all right, screw this. I want these. I guess I'll just check them out. I take them to the self-checkout. Right. And I was like, oh, well, this one has a scanner, a barcode. Right. And I try it, and it gives me an error message. I'm like, all right, whatever. I scanned it a couple times, still messing. Huh. So I asked the girl that's working there, like, hey, can you help me? I can't scan this. And she takes her phone and does it, and nothing comes up. Of course. And then she asked, well, I don't know, but does $10.99 sound good? I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And
or $5.99.
I was like, $10.99 sounds reasonable enough for 30-pounders, I guess. I got 2 of them, and then she put it on. I scanned my sweatshirt. I get out to my car, and I put it in, and look closer at the tag, and then check my phone. Those bitches were $90 each.
The weights?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I felt pretty good about spending money on getting that $30 sweatshirt.
And by the way, that is not fraud. That was not your fault at all. That is just who would have thought? I mean, I can't figure out. I'm the store employee. I couldn't figure it out. I'm going to think that they're around this price.
Exactly. It was just like a good estimate. Like, I had no idea. And I suppose I could have looked closer on the tag with the barcode, because at the very bottom in small print,
it did say?
It said 76.
Oh my god.
For retail, but...
Did you say 76?
No, well, I didn't read it until after I got in the car. I didn't know that...
No, that number 76. Did you just say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your number that floats around your life.
I started documenting it. Dude, I just got one today.
Yeah?
Dashboard, miles, 76. I got one the other day of the weather. It's just these off time. I just glance at things, and it's the numbers. It could be any number. I could glance at the monitor, you know what I mean, or whatever, and there would be any number on there. But for the fact that I glance, I look at it for that split second that it's there on that time specifically, and it's 76, I start documenting these. I've got 3 wild ones, and it's just that when you said 76, I'm like, son of a, like, I'm documenting it so I let people know I'm not crazy. It's just the number that follows me around, and it's just weird stories that happen. Anyway, crazy thing, that is just amazing that you were able to get those weights.
It was for that super nice and nice on my budget or my bank account.
Yeah.
But before I get too heavy into like what happened over this
We're gonna open the show.
Yeah. Let me know what your weekend has been like.
Oh, dude, it's been nuts. What did I do? Okay, this last weekend, obviously Melina was here, so I wanted to take her out to like a Mexican restaurant with Aaron and everyone. And so Sunday we had band practice. I forgot what I did Saturday. I can't remember for the life of me. Oh, but Sunday was a packed day. I was working with Synths with Blake. So I don't know if you saw on the Snapchats, I got like, me and Blake we finally locked down the song or sounds for these certain songs or whatever. And we spent like 5 hours, and it felt really nice that we actually got to like work on these songs and progress them, and it feels like things are coming together, which is awesome. So after that, went to band practice, and dude, you seen, and then obviously I think Melina was sick, but so she was upstairs. I think she was resting, but you know, we were there, we jammed, and then Melina comes down and she's like, "Who the heck is singing?" And then Aaron's like, "Oh, that's Arturo," and she gave me the nicest compliment. She's like, "You have a really nice voice. I love hearing you sing." And I'm like, no one has ever said that to me in my entire life. Thank you. Like, from the bottom of my heart.
She is such a sweet person.
Her and Aaron are one of the most pure-hearted people I've ever met. Besides your parents, of course. And Jesus and, whatever. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. But, dude, Jesus, man. And, yeah, so I took them out to go eat I wanted to go to a restaurant that was actually closer. It was 7 minutes away from Graham's house. But they were closing. But by the time we were done with band practice, it was like 9 o'clock. We were jamming for like 3 hours, getting everything good, you know? Nice. But the time we just couldn't get there in time, and we were like, you know what, I decided let's just go to a restaurant that's going to be open at, by 10, so we at least have an hour to eat, at least 30 minutes to order, or get there, order food, food comes out 30 minutes from there. We have time or whatever. That's usually like worst case scenario. So obviously the second thing is the restaurant I took her to is a restaurant that's near and dear to my heart, because it's where the one I used to go to all the time when I used to live in downtown St. Paul. But she didn't like it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, because I wish I would have taken you to the other one, because I knew that was the main one I wanted to take you. So, I mean, we still all had a good time, but like, I really wanted to take her to a place that like, was going to wow her. But I took her to the second one, was like, it's near and dear to me, because like I love the seafood there, but like everything else is like, it's okay. But the seafood's where it's at. Oh, yeah. Yeah, anyway, we all had a good time. Eugene ate his first sopa, is basically Mexican food for the first time. Everyone had a great time. And then I think, what else? Oh, madly started working on this next project, a bigger thing for my company, and getting close to finishing it by the end of this week. And it's a big one. Okay. So I'm very excited that I'm sending the invoice tonight to get paid. So I can finally take a deep breath and like, when you're finished doing something huge, you're like, oh, I can move on from this with a clear conscience. Yeah. Dump the body on the side of the road kind of shit.
Yeah, and you were just feeling relaxed from this whole hecticness of this project.
Exactly. I was like, oh, dude. I mean, today I was sanding. I was using a sand machine for the first time, and that shit was just getting away from me. It's a giant thing, and it weighs like 200 pounds. And I lift that thing up by myself, and I feel like my back's just getting more fucked as I just keep working this terrible job. Whatever. But yeah, that was fun. Anyway, let's open up the show, because we got a lot of things. Oh, rip. Oh, funny yokes. We will never see her again, but she was cool. Anyway, I got this one. I think this one will be pretty nice for us to see.
Hi, do you live in the Moncton, New Brunswick area and are looking for more friends? Well, I've got good news for you, because we got 2 of them right here. Yeah, we're pretty cool guys. We like hanging out here at this park here, and like hanging out all over the place, we're really into movies. Jeffrey's into video games. I'm into like books and comic books and stuff. He likes like comic book movies. We're actually pretty cool. So like, if you want, you can like send us a comment here, or send us like a message like here on my TikTok account, or like we have an email for you to tell us like a bit about yourself at Brent Lee.
All right, we're not gonna watch the whole thing.
That's you and me.
Yeah, honestly, did you see his friend just in the background, like
just standing there?
Like, why are we doing this? First of all, yeah, friends, man. Jesus, and this whole, like I told you before, I'm an introvert. I'm the introvert kind of type of person. You know, I don't. I like to, hang out by myself and just be at peace with me, because there's like all of these, kind of like a hedgehog. The philosophy, let too many people in and I eventually hurt them or they hurt me, and I just rather not be hurt by people.
That's really interesting you bring that up. I wanted to kind of talk about that,
is actually,
a little bit later, but let's talk about it now that you brought it up.
No, we can talk about it later, but it's more about the friends that like this whole week. It's like been or not this whole week, but like this whole month has been crazy. We're like, okay, now I'm hanging out with Yoshi a little bit more. Like we were just talking about finding a base for him and all this stuff, and like finding pedals. We took a whole day just to find pedals, and then we just talked about starting a company just the other day too, like over Popeyes, and it's like, oh fuck, this is pretty cool. Like things is like wouldn't happen, and then like spending 5 hours with Blake, like it just feels natural. It doesn't feel like there's no hostility. It feels like it's not like other friends that I've had have been like very hostile and just have like too much of their ego pushed through,
Yeah.
And just like meeting the people from band, it's like, yeah, it feels like a good spot.
Yeah, there's like a relaxed nature to, I feel, especially the people around us now, this year especially, that there's not necessarily an urgency, but it's just a calmness about hanging out. Like, I know I try not to stress people out with my own life because I have a go kind of thing, but I try not to relay that to other people or just like make it seem like,
well, I think when you're present with people, you're present. Like right here, you have other stuff to do later today, and you had stuff to do after, but you're present.
Yeah, and I definitely try to do that. But I wanted to talk about
Porcupine effect.
Porcupine effect. I did want to touch on the insecurities, or I know that I'm starting to find the vocabulary and understand my own like problems and insecurities,
which is amazing, because a lot of people are just stuck not knowing, and they start to develop problems.
Can we talk about the fear of abandonment? I wonder if that's something I struggle with, but with like the hedgehog effect, I'm curious, do you have or have struggled with anything like that?
Let's start with the beginning. So Neon Genesis Evangelion is an anime from the 80s. For 80s, 90s kind of crossover. It's fucking amazing. So it's about this kid that like basically his parents have, his mother is dead, so he doesn't have, the purpose of having a mom and a dad is for, like philosophically what it's meant to do for you.
I've only what I can initially guess, but
yeah, like the mom is supposed to give you love, and the dad is supposed to prepare you for the real world, kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't have put it better.
That, and so for Neon Genesis, you have the main protagonist named Shinji, who his mother is dead, and his dad is very aloof, but his dad uses him in terrible ways. He abuses his son pretty much, and makes Shinji, the protagonist, do things to save the world, but also do things that like hurt Shinji, not seeing the person as who he is. In terms of abandonment issues, I mean, like, I feel like it's not that I've ever abandoned people. It's just that I've learned not to let people get close to a certain degree. When I was a kid, or when I was going through high school, I didn't have control over my life. I didn't know. People would come in and out, cause me harm, cause me pain, like willingly would cause me pain. Now it's like people, like family, would cause me pain without them wanting to. It's more of like it's just like a passive thing. But I've never, when it comes to family, it's not that I want to abandon like, my siblings or anything like that, but it's more the fact of like what I want there to be love and like a real family. It's just not possible and never going to happen. So it's not that I've abandoned that philosophy. It's more like, I think I've learned how to mature and just become like setting these boundaries so I don't get hurt, they don't get hurt, and I'll be there whenever they need me to be there, kind of stuff. Like my middle sister, Danny, I'm teaching her how to drive or whatever. I haven't been there for a while because I've been just fucking busy with my entire life. But funny enough, yesterday I was gonna tell her before I got the news that she broke her leg, but I was like, hey, I'm free actually Tuesday, because we moved the podcast from Tuesday to Wednesday, and I'm free Tuesday and Wednesday. And then she shows me a picture, or she puts up a picture of her snap, because we don't really talk, of her leg is just fucked up, and I'm like, oh, never mind. But now my schedule is clear, but I was just like, oh, that's just terrible. But that's my thing, It's just because like people don't know, are not mature enough to handle things, and for me it's about abandoning is more about like not letting people in for a certain degree, because they just don't know how to treat people. They don't know how to see you as a person. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what did you have any thoughts? I mean, I can go on and on, but like, did you have any certain topics you wanted to talk about?
I was kind of curious about like when there's those random lonely nights that you're just like, fuck, I really want somebody. Anybody. Yeah. It's really interesting to reflect or just look inward and either bury it down, forget about it, or...
Well, you don't have the not luxury. You don't have to ever do that, but have you felt like that?
There's definitely been times like over the pandemic, definitely.
Well, yeah, that's why like we were getting together, like hopefully to fill in that void. But it's more of like, yeah, when you need like a mother there, when you need a father,
that, or even just presence. Like physical touch too is like crazy. So like to be able to not necessarily suppress it, but have the mental aptitude, I guess maybe is the word,
right,
to focus on something else, or have enough willpower to allow your mind to change, like your...
Well, dude, that's where I was stuck in throughout. Pandemic, like I said, my heart goes out to people that like actually suffered through the pandemic. I went through one of the hardest times of my entire life, but it wasn't due to the pandemic, because it could have happened at any time outside of the pandemic or not. So I don't count it during the pandemic. And I don't even see that it affected it, because life was living normal for us. We were still doing things. Like, yeah, we were limited to certain things, like going out to eat at certain restaurants, but that's really it from my standpoint. And like I said, I hope this doesn't come off as shitty, but I went through the hardest time of my life, because there was a time where I was going to commit a terrible thing. I was going to be doing something very terrible, because I wasn't getting any sleep. I was living with obviously my mom at the time, and her husband, and then I was living in the same floor with her sons, or with Dave's sons. And for me, just not being able to have any control over my life, not being able to manifest anything, and then like talking to my dad and his family about like, this is what I need. I'm going through a very difficult time and I need this. And then they were like, oh yeah, of course, we've always been here for you. It's like, no, I know you like from there, but I need right now. I'm unstable. I'm going through terrible things. I've talked to you about this many times as well. And then obviously like when they told me that they wanted to be here for me, and then they don't do anything to back it up, it's like, well, now what? You know what I mean? Like when the Christmas thing happened last year, it's kind of like, that's my last straw. I gave you guys too many chances where, yeah, they're nice to me, obviously, but they just don't know how to love someone. And I shouldn't say that, because they do, but they've showed it to other people and not to me. And for me, it's like, why couldn't I have that? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? And then obviously I kept spiraling.
And that's a really dangerous spot. I don't mean to cut you off, but to add on to that, I feel like even my own like personal issues, or just understanding myself,
it's really healthy to talk about these things.
Over the weekend, I'll tell you other fun stories, but
of course, we got time.
I went on the solo walk, so like hung out with a friend camping Friday night, then more friends came over Saturday night.
Yes,
and we ended up staying all night. I didn't sleep for shit. I stayed up at like 40 plus hours.
I figure so.
But anyways, I went on this like solo walk for like an hour or two, and just like was reflecting on myself. But it was really interesting to, have that time alone, especially around nature, and understanding how the mind spirals, because I was ready to spiral into a depression right there, and like lock myself into it. I don't mean ready, but when your mind starts down like a certain path of like, oh, you're not good enough, or like you're not enough for somebody,
right,
things start like snowball effect. Like,
oh, of course, yeah.
Things will just start repeating.
Yeah.
And it's
But for you, I don't understand why that happened. Why you even thought that for a second. I just can't comprehend. I mean, like, everyone has their problems. Everyone has their issues inside, deep down. But for you, there's so much positive things in your life. You've been blessed with so many things. I can't see how you got there. I can understand it once you tell me, but like, I can't see how you got there.
Definitely. I'm so blessed with all the positive things. It's making sure I have I guess the mental like strength to be able to like pull myself out of like things that start snowball affecting like that. This one girl I'm going on with, it still bothers me a little bit to think that someone would want to be like polyamorous or something, you know, not be exclusive.
That's one of my biggest. I was actually talking to Yoshi about this the other day, of like, he just doesn't understand how you can commit to someone and only be with that someone. And to Yoshi's respect, actually, I mean, like, he lives that polyamorous life. And I was just like, well, this is a new thing for me. I've only heard the term in the last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know much about it. And obviously, if that's your thing, if that's what you think is what makes you happy, I'm not going to stop you. That's your thing. But I just want to understand it so that, like, and his biggest thing was, you got to communicate. Because when somebody wants a committed relationship and you just want to, like, you know, be in this thing where you're allowed to see other people, but one person is like, I don't want this anymore. I want to just be with you. But you're set on something else, you know, and then you start having all these problems. Yeah. The polyamorous relationship or whatever, it's such a difficult balance, but you could also say that about being just a regular in a regular relationship as well.
Absolutely.
We were really going back and forth about this conversation. And like, at the bottom line, like, what we ended up sitting on is just like, I've seen an example where it worked, where single people that wanted to be together I've seen it work. Not many times, but I've seen it work enough where I believe in that. I've never seen a polyamorous relationship end up working in the future. And this is what I was telling Yoshi, is like, in the America is built, or just any society is kind of built in the fact of like, if you want to get a house, you need a spouse to do that. If I wanted to get a house, I could, but damn, will I be paying a lot for it. You need a partner or someone there to basically split that cost in half to make it realistic, because if you just wanted to rent a house by yourself, it's impossible. It's just insane unless you're blessed. Going back to the fact, though, it's like, unless if you wanted to buy a car, you know, sometimes you have to lease. Like I said, the idea of a relationship and what it is versus like being able to mess around with someone and not committing, there are so many things that can go wrong in either way. I'm not saying there's one that's right, there's one that's wrong. I'm just saying that, like, there's so many things that are just, there's more complex than we imagine. Definitely.
And I think also it's really interesting to perceive that it was like the way I grew up, or what I was taught from a young age, from like this Christian mindset, that there should be just like a couple, you know, you should have like committed relationship and you'll be with like one person. Right. But this whole new idea, or at least new to me, that it's okay to be with other people, or if the communication is there, you can still have fun, mess around with people, but still have a committed, fun friendship.
Well, yes and no, because like,
really weird.
It's weird, but at the same time, that's its new thing, right? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it if that's your thing. If you're able to have that great communication, there's nothing wrong with it, because at least you have an understanding with the person. For me, though, I'm a very selfish person. You know, when I find someone, I want them only to be for me.
And I kind of feel the same, yeah.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Now, because the other person, like I said, I told you about relationship advice many times. As in, like, before you even get into this, you know, you told me about the situation of all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, listen, you have your own, you count too as a person. You count in the relationship. Is this what you really want? Because later down the road, I know what's going to happen. And I told you this, exactly what's going to happen. But it's up to that understanding of like, when is it enough, you know, for you? Yeah. Is this okay for you though? But for me, like I said, I'm a very selfish person and I'm very traditional that way. And for the most part, a lot of people are set in that way as well. It's more of like people that are just not young. It comes in all shapes of ages that want to be in these kind of relationships as well. Is like to have many partners in their life, because not only their life has allowed it to, where like they can balance that, but they just feel more comfortable not committing and just like I guess not really committing, not being in a serious relationship and just hanging out and having fun kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not my cup of tea. But if it is for you, by all means, that's your thing. It's just not for me.
It's interesting to think like the kind of thoughts to kind of tie it in a little together is the negative side of like seeing somebody that I care about or kind of like want to spend more time with, them being with another like dude or person.
Yeah, it hurts.
Getting jealous of like I could be there, but at the same time like trying to understand that I can be happy for them, but not everybody wants happiness for other people, and that's really interesting. No,
usually it comes to the most mature point of your life, because the person that I was with my last girlfriend is not who I am today. And you know, when we broke up, I was obviously hurt, I was sad, but at the same time I loved them so much, and I still do. I care about them, not romantically, but just like as a person. I care and I love them too. If whoever they find, I just hope that person's gonna make them happy. And that's like till now, that took me so long to like actually like manifest into my mind that like, yes, this is fine now. Even whoever they're with, I'm okay with it. But when you start seeing someone and like in this relationship and like, or you break up with someone and then now they're with somebody else, it's not that like you're supposed to feel that, it's that those are your feelings. You know what I mean? Like that's normal for you. Mm-hmm. That's not gonna be normal for somebody else. Somebody else will be like, oh well, no, go for it. That's your thing. If that's your thing, go for it. You know what I mean? But for me, I can't help the way I feel. You can't help the way you feel either. Yeah. You know, if you see that somebody else, like I said, if you see like your lady or your ex lady like making out with somebody else, it's gonna, if it hurts you, it hurts you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it only relates to you as a person. I hope that makes sense, because for me, it's like, yeah, it would hurt me if I saw my partner doing that or my ex-partner doing that at that time. But now I've grown to be such a mature, I'm a completely different person. We're like, we've moved on. That time has passed. And I know what I want. That's the thing. I know exactly what I want. And I'd rather be single and wait like years until I find that person that matches the same things that I want. And I'd rather wait and figure that out, because I'm not that I'm like losing time or anything.
Yeah, and that's really cool to see that you know exactly what you want.
A lot of people don't.
I know I'm happy that I know what I want with my life career-wise, but there's so much I don't know and don't understand yet about the world.
You're not supposed to, by the way. Things are supposed to happen to you, and you're supposed to interpret them, like here. Yeah,
and I love coming here and being able to unravel these things, because life is just full of mysteries, and you make sense of what you can, but it's
everything
all about learning.
I've already experienced, and I know what's going to happen to you, like, you know, years from now. I'm not trying to sound like I know fucking everything, but like I've been through the worst of things, and you will never be there where I was at. You won't, and I hope that you won't. But if you do, just know that I've been there, and I can help you, walk you through that, and I'll help you understand how these things happen.
And it's really cool. Like I'm not necessarily afraid of getting hurt, but I just don't want to.
Oh, nobody wants to.
What are you talking about? It's really interesting to think about like love or like getting into relationships. Like there's always going to be more to learn, and you don't stop learning.
You never stop learning in any subject. And that's the whole point, is like, if you don't, like, for me, if you don't talk about these things, you just stay in your head, and then you begin to spiral. Like you did probably in the forest. Now, there's probably so much other things that happened to lead you to that point that you probably don't want to share on here, which is fine. But for me, as long as I know what led me to that point, and then I can start working backwards to interpret, like, oh, maybe this person hurt me. I could either talk to them about it or just cut them out of my life. It could be anybody, or some, like any example, or like this going to White Castle like really made me feel like shit. Probably not go to White Castle anymore. But you know what I mean? Like you gotta figure out what worked, what didn't work, and go from there. But if you're stuck, I've always told you can just call me whenever. I don't care what fucking time it is. I've always answered.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that.
No, I need you to hear it more and more, because I feel like you don't believe me. That time at the forest, you could have called me and I would have picked up. I'm like, hey man, I have an orgy. Call you back. Click. Or what? No, obviously, like whatever, dude. Like I said, I've lived your life, and I know that things are going to happen, and I've been through terrible things, and I didn't have anybody there. Like, my mom was the only person. When I was at my lowest low, this is why I will always love my mom. It's not until, like when you start seeing your mom as not your mom, but a person. This is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever had. And it was like the week after Valentine's Day or whatever of this year. And I was at my lowest low. I was just like, I think I'm going to do something terrible. Not to myself, but to somebody. And I'm not a bad person. And I hate thinking these things. And things are just not happening. They're not working out. And I was breaking down in front of her. And she just comes. She just gives me a hug. She didn't have to say anything. She comes into my room. And she gives me little things of chocolates of Valentine's Day candy that she had left over. With the little balloon that says Happy Valentine's Day. And then she gives me... I'm almost going to fucking break down. But she gives me a hug, dude. And she just knew. You know what I mean? It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. It was such a pure moment. And for that second, for that one fucking second... I felt what you're supposed to feel. Everything's going to be fine. And then a couple months later, I moved out. This is fucking great. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the best things I've ever done is like, I still can't believe that I live on my own. And I have all of these things in here and I'm able to express myself. And if it wasn't for that moment, I would have done something completely horrible. And I hate that like I said, this is the reason I go to therapy and the reason I need to understand my mind so that I don't hurt anybody or hurt myself, because I was really close to doing it, but thank God nothing did.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you didn't go to any extremes.
That's why I asked you too a couple times, like, hey man, we should just hang out. I just need to hang out for a second.
Definitely.
And we did, we did podcasts throughout the pandemic. Thank God no one got hurt or sick. Things worked out.
Absolutely.
Saving grace.
I guess there's a few more things I have to talk about, but what else has happened in the last while since we hung out last?
Dude, okay, so I mean, there's been a couple things. Like I just got this new, obviously the Voco Loco, because I wanted to start. I wrote an original song for my band, the Skeleton Crew, which is like finally taking off. And I wrote the song in the what you're going through. It's about like the thrills of youth, that like basically that there was a basement show, the first one we ever did together, about like all these like young 21-year-olds or whatever coming together, just having the time of their fucking lives. And it's about like just living that moment over and over again, like every day. But it's more of the fact of like those parties happen every day, but you're changing as the party, like the lyrics are supposed to mean like as the party happens, you're changing and you're not that person anymore, and you're coming out to be like appreciative of like, I just want to fucking rock out, and I'm glad that I did. That's what the song's about. It's called 7 or 11. I'm working on that right now. That's why I got the new Vocal Loco, so I get to show you some of these things later. I don't know if you'll have time, but it's more of the fact of like basically mixing vocals into this new program. I'm very fucking excited.
That's awesome. So
yeah, like that. Like I'm like I'm this kind of person where like if I want to figure out how do I get these things correct, because I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Just the other day I learned how to reamp an amplifier.
Oh hell yeah.
And then like it didn't work out for me, but like I knew that thing. Now it's in my head. I know how to do it. And I've learned different miking techniques, all that good shit. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, all of these things, man. And Malignant. I got to see Malignant, the new James Wong horror movie. It's not really a horror movie, but it has horror themes in it.
Okay.
Fuck.
How was that?
It was actually, it started off pretty boring. The acting was like really fucking hilarious, like terrible acting in the beginning and at the later end of the movie. And like the movie just kind of ends, but like there's this good middle section after like the horror things kind of stop. And then now it's like, oh, plot development. Holy shit. It got awesome. It's one of the most original creative, horror movies. No, it's like I call it a thriller. It's part horror, part thriller. Like I consider Quiet Place a thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it's more of like a horror, a little bit of horror, but more thriller kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And I'm a scaredy cat, and I fucking was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like halfway through the movie, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. This is great. And it got all the way to the third act, and everything was great to that point, and then the movie just ends, and I'm like, I needed more. The movie just started for me. So yeah, that was cool. I did a review for that, and I think Cry Macho's coming out. So there's like a bunch of movies that are coming out for October that I'm so fucking excited to see. And you haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, which I'm like, dude, I will cancel this podcast. We just gotta go see Shang-Chi. You are missing out on how fucking good this movie is.
Possibly. I know we're in the middle of a podcast, but if you want to make plans Saturday...
Well, this is what I was going to tell you.
Renfest and maybe Shang-Chi later.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Can I show you? Let's... Hold on. Let's work backwards a second. Let's work backwards.
I don't know about kicking it down, but they certainly kicked it up.
That's an actual sword. I'll show you one more time.
I don't know about kicking it down, but they certainly kicked it up.
Jesus Christ.
Looks like he's ready to be part of Dark Souls, the live action.
Dude, if he just missed one wrong swoop or whatever, or like, whatever, he would have chopped his head off. Clean. His feet or his head. That is a real sword.
That looked heavy too.
He could have killed himself. He knows what he did. He knows what he's doing, obviously, but that's... Fuck. I always get nervous whenever people use, you start using weapons in real life, and it's like, oh my God. But yeah, Renfest. We're going to see a lot of that. We're doing Renfest this Saturday. Like, Shang-Chi we could do it, obviously, if you're going to be busy this week, obviously, but Renfest is Renfest. That's a whole day for just that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I gotta practice a little bit in the morning, but after like noon on Saturday, we could probably do whatever.
Like immediately as soon as noon ends, we'll...
That sounds wonderful.
Like 11:59, Arty's here. Like ding 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 ding
on the doorbell. I'm here, bitch.
Bum 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 bum. Up and up, dude. Yes, Renfest. My God, I've been fucking waiting patiently, I might add.
I'm glad.
Yeah, but Shang-Chi, we probably won't have time for Saturday, but let's make plans to go see it whenever possible, because
that'd be sick. Or even possibly I'm not sure if we have a show, but the week after that we could see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, because I think you have a show. Oh, speaking of this week, the guys are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be coming back next week, and I think next week you do have a show. Two Shots, dude.
That's what it is.
Yeah, on Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which one.
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
And I have another show possibly on that Thursday. But regardless of making plans.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway, yes. What else did you want to talk about?
Let's see.
I had projects and malignant. Oh, mental problems. Jesus. Okay, so I finally diagnosed what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know how like when you leave your house and you're like, "Fuck, I forgot my keys." For me, I figured out what's wrong with me, and I did some self-diagnosing of like psychological things that just happened to me. But every time I'm gonna do something, like in the morning, it makes sense because I'm not awake. So if I forget my keys, I can forgive myself. I'm not awake yet. I haven't drank my coffee. I haven't splashed orange juice in my face. Okay, I'm not awake yet. That's fine. But when I'm at work, I'm not stressed out. I'm moving. I'm finally awake. I'm able to do stuff. Today it happened as like a perfect example where I was walking up to the house and I was like, oh shit, I forgot my drill. So I go back to my car, and as I'm going to my car, I'm like, what the fuck was I getting? And I realized that this has been a thing for like years now, where like, and for an instant, it's like the most like, fuck, you can't progress further until you get this thing. And anything, in any occasion, or whatever example. But I would go to my car and I'd be like, what the fuck was I going here for? And I think that's like early signs of dementia. I think. But I would go back to the house after and like basically retracing those steps and reliving that moment. And so I would go back to the house and be like, oh, it's my drill. And then I'd go to the car and like finally like drill, like just repeating in my head.
Yep.
But then I figured out how to get this problem to stop happening. Or at least I'm going to try it out a little bit more. Essentially, when I forget something like that, I relive in my imagination. This is going to sound fucking nuts.
But like astral projection almost, like of where you were, so you don't have to physically walk back?
Essentially, yeah. Or just like retracing not essentially leaving my body, because I have to leave your body in that instant in broad daylight when there's all of these distractions is almost impossible. But it's about like, oh, what was I doing? I was going to the door, and then what was I going to do from the door? Why did I stop? Oh, I don't know. And then like I would imagine myself opening the door, and from that instant when I mentally like, you know, do this little reenactment of like doing the next thing, then I'm like in that moment, instead of me having to go all the way back to do that, in that moment I was like, oh shit, that's what it is, and it clicked. And it happened today.
That's awesome.
And it's this thing where, you know, I have so much self-loathing for myself because I'm like, you shouldn't, it's just been instilled in me that I should never make mistakes. You know, from my past managers to my dad, like whenever I make mistakes, I just get these remarks or these like little comments or these things. So I try to become omnipotent. I try to become a god now, basically. And I sound like a fucking madman. But no, it's more of the fact that I just hate making mistakes.
I can relate.
And hate people yelling at me or telling me about these things. Yeah. So that's what I diagnosed that problem.
I'm going to steal that and use that mental exercise to not have to forget things, or at least practice having more awareness.
These aren't freebies, by the way. That's the second one I've given you.
Oh, it's going to come out later.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I'm going to try that out a little more, see if that actually worked. But it's more of the fact of like, I just hated to do that 4 or 5 times. That's why it took me 30 minutes to leave my apartment one day, because I kept forgetting stupid things. And yeah, I was distracted with like listening to podcasts, listening to my phone or whatever, just being on my phone. But now it's like, okay, now when like shit needs to happen, I know, I just want to eliminate the process that it's not my fucking mind that's being destroyed. It's just me being stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's all. That's the last thing I had. Yeah.
Hoping that our brains don't dissolve sooner than later.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left.
Good stuff.
Yeah, what else did you have?
I guess the last thing I was going to talk about was my grandpa. He had passed Friday morning.
Oh my God! What are we doing here?
And I went camping that weekend. Everything was pretty good.
See, that's what I'm fucking talking about. I knew there was things in your life that happened that like I just didn't click. Now it makes sense.
And everything was pretty good. Like I had interesting substances. And
those are pretty dangerous when you're going through that kind of stuff. I would just warn you.
It was I felt very safe enough knowing that I could pull myself out of that, and which I want to add that I was able to change my mental attitude. Like other things were happening and I was thinking about girl problems, I guess.
Yeah.
But changing my like physiological, like the physical side of my body, like instead of having look down posture and all the negative things, like physically changing myself to like I wanted to explore those thoughts and understand more about myself, because it was bothering me. Like, why is this happening? Or like, what are these thoughts?
Right.
So I explored it a little bit, but when like an hour passed, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of sick of this now. Sit up. I started moving more, giving myself like good vocabulary words, and just sharing love with a tree, I guess.
What?
I found a
tree?
No, I found a really cool tree though. But regardless, just like getting myself out of like a worse mental state.
Yeah.
But things were happening, and it was over the weekend. It was really good. But after I had worked and played piano, I hadn't slept all day.
Right. This is the next day now.
Yep. And then went to play piano, and then once I sat in my car, it hit me like a fucking train.
Of losing your grandpa?
Yeah, losing my grandpa, just everything at the same time. Like I had probably the biggest ego death I've had in all of my experiences.
Ego death?
Like having such genuine love and losing your sense of self. Like you don't have any more ego. It's just pure, I guess, love. And I'll maybe send you some videos of like what other people's experiences have been, but
so this is a thing.
It was just a really, very it's especially common in taking Lucy.
Yeah.
But what was I just gonna say? Regardless, I hadn't slept all day, so it was a compilation of things like having emotional, like my grandpa passing, not sleeping, being on substances, and then like not addressing it or not having those emotions yet. You know, it was like a couple days to process. And then
yeah, I mean, you've had a busy week.
Yeah, among having like the ego death, I was contemplating calling like everybody I knew, but I would have just broke down crying every time just to tell them I loved them. But I definitely gave everybody a lot of thought, like all my close friends. I ended up sitting at Menards. I just needed to like get it out of my system, so I sat in the parking lot for a couple hours and cried. But went to Jade's house and had some good Ethiopian food. But before I went in, I actually called my mom and wanted to let her know that I was thinking about her.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her for like a week until like the past day.
Right.
Because she was down taking care of my grandpa before he passed.
Right.
And it was really, really hard for her. So I just wanted to like talk to her about it and whatnot. But that's pretty much what's been going on.
That's a good thing for you to do, by the way. Talking to your parents. It's very nice.
Absolutely.
Like, especially in that time. Have you guys like gotten together as a family yet?
Yeah, we had the funeral on Tuesday.
Well,
yeah,
after
yesterday.
I don't count funerals as like a family thing. It's like a you paying respect to that person.
Mm-hmm.
But have you guys been together as a family after that?
Not just like me immediately. It was our immediate family that got to hang out and collaborate, not just at like the funeral, but at my grandma's house. We had a nice like get together for a couple hours, and then me and my parents were just kind of hanging out while I was playing piano today, and it was nice just to kind of be around them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, besides all of that stuff, it's just you centralizing yourself back in that familiar.
Definitely, yeah.
That's a very important thing.
And it was very satisfying. I guess the day before the funeral on this Monday, I went clothes shopping with my dad for a new suit, and it was really nice to be able to just spend all day with him and just kind of hang out, because I haven't done that in a really long time.
Papa Gordon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, no, that's
Dude, those are a lot of heavy things, man. There's a lot of things to dissect there, and we don't have much time, but I will say this. Obviously, losing someone that you've cared about and loved, it takes time to process. And that ego thing you were talking about, it happened to me like after when I lost my stepdad. I think it was like in a fight with like my ex-girlfriend, and I was just driving home because I'm like, this is just ridiculous. And I looked in the windshield, or not the windshield, the rear view mirror, you know, the mirror or whatever. And I saw for a second a reflection of somebody else that wasn't me. And I was just like, oh, I thought that was him. So I cried out his name, and I just broke down like a fucking baby. But just breaking down everything that I didn't do anything wrong. It's just the way that she treated me and all of these things, right? And it really like, it broke me out of I think that's what it probably is, that ego thing you're talking about, because of putting yourself in check, right? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, from what I've experienced, it's just this total lack of I keep wanting to just use the words that describe it, and that's just ridiculous. But
I mean, that's probably going to help the general viewer, such as myself or anybody else listening, because they don't know.
I'm trying to think of what the descriptors are for the word ego. Like, what's the definition of it?
Yeah, like self-centered,
Yeah, so all the things that you like want to do. Like, I was thinking like, oh, you know, instead of doing this, and this, I just kind of lost everything, and I was like, my priorities narrowed down very quickly.
Oh yeah, of course.
And it was like
but that's not a bad thing. It's just more of like, I just need to stop. I need to stop for a second.
Yeah, and it was,
so I think the way that it comes off as like when you say that you had an ego trip or whatever, or whatever the phrasing is called, it just sounded like something different. But this makes more sense.
Yeah, it was definitely like a multiple day. I mean, like, I'm still kind of, I'm able to address and know what my feelings were, but it was quite a prolonged ego death, you know, like experiencing like just genuine love and not wanting to do anything else other than just like express love for just like the people around me and have great appreciation for like my priorities of not needing anything else in the world and just happy that things exist the way they are, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, whenever something like that happens, where like you lose there's a death in the family, or just like someone that you care about just dies, you need that's why like people just say like, go take some time for yourself. Like at work, even like if you're like, dude, my dad just died or whatever, they'll be like, just take some time off work. Like just that phrasing, it doesn't do jack for the person unless the person acts on it. But what society expects you to do is like that. Is you take time to reflect and put everything into perspective, and you did that. That's a very normal, healthy thing to do, and I'm glad that you went through that.
Yeah, and I'm very glad myself.
It's a very healthy thing what you did,
and it's inspiring me. Not only my friends are inspiring me more and more every day as the days go on. Like you inspire me, and my other friends that I hang out with. It's inspiring to work on myself and see that there's an arc in everybody. You know, everybody comes from somewhere, and there's things that they go through and experiences that happen that, you know, you're gonna hopefully become a better person out of everything.
Well, and you would hope for that, but there's some people that just won't, and that's not your responsibility. It's just right now, like I was telling Melina when we were at the cabin, like there was this beautiful moment where we were all done eating, we were just full, just sitting on our bellies, just like, oh fuck, I just can't even move. And we were about to pay, and I'm like, we were just talking about like, was amazing, this food was great, like from everyone else. And I was just like, these are the moments that you will never forget, because it's something like this that we did something out of the ordinary to come here to eat at 9:30 p.m. For me, it was just like, I'll never forget that day. And it was such a special thing that I went out of my way to do something nice for someone, and we all had a great time. And I told him right there, like, hey, look, this moment, and I tapped on the table, this moment will never happen again. But wasn't it great? It was one of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I told him, I looked him all in the eye, I'm like, this is great. Now, make sure you tip well, because we stayed till like 10:30, and then we booked it. Good times. Anyway, that was a great way to end this fucking podcast.
That was.
Do you want me to just throw you something that'll make your heart sing?
Yes.
I got this especially for you. I didn't know you went through all this stuff. We can obviously dissect these things more later, but for now, this is one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done. This is a really great one. Enjoy.
Where's the sugar?
I'll go get it. You stay here.
How much is sugar? How much is it? $10 sugar? Yeah. Hey, show $2. Yeah.
Hey man, it's whatever. Okay.
See ya.
Bye.